Thanks for being here, everybody. Signing day, class of 2022. We will start with some opening thoughts from Coach Houck and then open it to questions from the room. And as always, go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll pass the mic around so folks listening at home can hear your question. So, Coach, with that, you've got 23 members of this class altogether. Your initial thoughts.
Great. Thanks, Tapes. Good to see everybody. Hope you're all well. Seems like just the other day we were wrapping up the season, and now here we go into 2022. So thought recruiting went well. I like this group of kids. I think they fit well with each other and with our team. Roster spots and scholarships were in short supply, and I think we managed that really well. I think it was difficult for our coaches to to kind of piece this all together. But I think that our coaches did a nice job of that, and we did it as best we could, and I think it worked out well. Right now, Eric had just mentioned we were adding it up. I think we have 78 freshmen and sophomores on our roster. We don't need any more young guys. There's a chance before the season we could potentially add a couple of older guys, but we don't need any more young guys. So with that, we're finished with our recruiting for the year. We're on to next year's group because recruiting really never ends. And then we're knee-deep in off-season training, and spring ball is right around the corner. Or winter ball is what it'll be when we start. I think we're going to start on March 2nd is the plan right now. So here we go. Go ahead.
Questions?
Fire.
Coach, because this was such an atypical year with all of these different rules, what were the biggest differences you noticed? Because I know that the last couple times you guys wanted to get almost everything done in December. How much different is it? And is that just a factor in you guys signing 11 more today?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's one of those deals where things are in flux so much right now, just in terms of roster management everywhere, not just here. Maybe less so here at the moment. That could change at any time too. But I think you just kind of have to go with the flow on all of this, and I don't know that there's a better answer than that. I do know that football coaches in general are kind of planners and organized, and go with the flow is not anybody's real preferred way of operating, but I think you have to do a little of that. And I don't think there's really any hard, fast template for how this is going to go recruiting-wise down the road. I don't know. Wish I did.
When it comes to, in particular, the transfers, when there's
you were on our highlight tape, Rains. We were showing the recruits last weekend. Yeah,
nice.
It was good. I'm assuming you worked at games, but you're just watching.
Sometimes I just get to hang out. So
it's on the road too. Don't let your bosses see that.
When it comes
All
to,
right, I'm good. Go ahead. Ashley.
In particular, the transfers, when there's so many names, so many people out there, how do you, as a program, go about sifting through the thousands of names to find the few that you can bring in?
Well, it's difficult, especially when you're talking in season. We don't have big recruiting staff here. We don't have any recruiting staff here really. So places with big budgets that have large recruiting staffs within their football program have an advantage there. So that's it takes a lot of work. Generally speaking, though, in terms of the transfer piece of it, whether it's JC or four-year transfer, we're going to have kind of we're going to have some form of direct conduit to this kid, or we're not going to bring him in. So we're going to know people that know him, or we're going to have to be able to find people that know him really well, or we're not going to bring him in.
On that note, then, what is the key for transfers to acclimate to your football program?
Well, Well, I think we're always looking for the right fit. I mean, it's not about, everybody's different, right? But everybody we recruit, as far as we can tell, are people that want to go to school, people that want to be part of a team, people that love the game, aren't afraid to be coached hard, have good work ethic. I mean, those are the personality traits we're looking for. So, like any job in any company, you're trying to find people that fit what you want personality-wise, and that's what we're looking for.
Obviously, with quarterback next year, you'll be looking to fill Cam's spot, and with Lucas coming in, I'm wondering what led you to him, and what do you like about him to offer him and have him come to Missoula?
Yeah, that's easy. I've known Lucas for a long time. He went to I recruited him out of high school. He actually had him committed to San Diego State, and he left me at the altar to go to Georgia Tech. So I've known him for a while. His high school is 10 minutes from our house. He's a good guy. He's a good athlete. Know his family, know his mom, know his grandfather, cousins, all of that. So he played really well at times last year, particularly the bowl game, and he's a good addition. We should have a great quarterback battle this spring and fall.
Bobby, you said aside from maybe bringing a couple older guys, that recruiting for the 2022 season is pretty much over for you guys. Is that typical in the past, or in the past would you guys kind of still recruit heading into the spring and in the summer with not as many freshmen and sophomores?
No, that's pretty typical. As Coulter mentioned, we've been done in December more often than not the last few years, but that's pretty typical.
Bobby, all the transfers you guys brought in, correct me if I'm wrong, but they would all be guys who'd be eligible to play immediately if there was not the one-time transfer rules. Is that just a coincidence, or is that part of your strategy or philosophy in bringing in transfers?
Oh, I didn't even thought of it that way, Frank. Everybody's eligible everywhere every time now, so I don't really think of it that way. So no, not by design.
And you mentioned knowing Lucas Johnson back, or recruiting him out of high school. How have you seen him evolve as a player when you watch him on film from then till now, and just how would you describe what he brings to the quarterback position?
Well, he went to Georgia Tech and was kind of sold on the fact that they were going to try to throw it a little bit more, and that wasn't the way it went. And then San Diego State's a little bit more of a run-oriented offense. So, I think he's still got some evolving to do in the throwing game in particular. He's a smart guy, so he'll figure that out. But he's not played in our style offense yet.
Yeah, I know you always like to recruit Montana guys. There was a distinctly Western Montana flavor to the first. But I want to ask you about the two Missoula guys, Drew Clump and Ian Finch. Both walk-on guys, but it seems like they both have a lot of potential, and seems like they kind of blossomed during their senior years.
Yeah. Well, no one lives in eastern Montana anymore. It's deserted, aside from a few outposts, including the one I grew up in. But those guys they're good athletes. Three-sport guys. Drew is a kid who's a state track and field champion. I don't even know what he's going to play, but he likes to play, and he's a good athlete, and he can run. So he'll find a home. Ian's a little more defined that he's going to play wide receiver for us. And they both showed up in our camp last year. They were both good. Ian goes up and gets every ball. He's got a real knack for winning on the so-called 50-50 balls. And, you mentioned they're both walk-ons. There's numerous kids in this class, including those two, that in a normal year where you've got a normal allotment of scholarships, probably are scholarship guys. So, again, we don't really even think of it that way. It's just guys are getting in the door. The line's 1,000 long to try to walk on here.
You mentioned Clump, his track prowess, 300 hurdles. I mean, it seems to me that that's a pretty mentally tough, mentally straining event. So, I mean, do you like that? Do you look for guys that do even some of those over-the-top mental challenge type events?
Yeah, a bunch of these guys in this class are track guys. Gilman and Genatone and others. But Drew, he's good in both hurdles. He's got good times. I think he'll run fast this spring as well, faster than he did a year ago, if he can get some weather to train in. But you know, we like hurdlers. Hurdlers, you know, triple jumpers, pole vaulters. Those guys tend to be pretty athletic. They got good hips and open them up and run.
Bobby, I was just curious your thoughts on obviously the indoor practice facility moving along with the funding. Just curious your thoughts on specifics on how you see it benefiting the football program and the different types of things you guys are going to be able to use it for going forward.
Yeah, I think it's a needed addition. The fact that, you know, we couldn't do much outside today, if this were the case. You know, we had a big playoff game against Eastern Washington. We couldn't practice because the snow was 6 inches deep on the field and still coming. The off-season program, all those things. It's a much-needed addition. Probably should have had one a long time ago here. You know, the Dakota schools have had indoor venues. Idaho State, NAU, all snow places have had those things, and it'll be a great benefit to our athletes to be able to do it. And then, you know, to even talk about that thing, our people are so generous. We can't thank our donors enough. I mean, we just went out and raised that money this last year. I mean, there were a couple of big donors, but I mean, that was just like, let's do this, and our people are unbelievably generous. They choose to support Grizzly athletics and Grizzly football, and we're grateful to them.
You mentioned the Dakota schools. What's it going to take for Montana to catch a program like North Dakota, and how much does the indoor practice facility help along that path?
Did you say North Dakota?
North Dakota State.
Okay. Well, you know, it's all just talk's cheap till somebody beats them, you know. So it's going to take recruiting. It's going to take great effort from players and coaches, and, you know, hopefully we get to play.
And with that indoor facility moving along, what's the next big thing you'd want to see for the football program? Is it full cost of attendance scholarships, or is there something else?
We're
next
kind of
year?
moving beyond all that too. I mean, the name, image, and likeness piece will take care of all that. So we'll keep evolving in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Just keeping along with that indoor practice facility, you mentioned the donors. Just talk about the recruiting aspect of this. Great fan base, people willing to go above and beyond. That's got to be, from a coaching standpoint, it's got to be a nice recruiting tool.
Yeah, I think it'll help. I'm more into the functional aspect of it than recruiting. I mean, I don't necessarily think we're going to recruit a bunch of guys that just want to play inside here. We'll let them go someplace else. But from a training standpoint, it'll be huge for us, particularly this time of year. And then, you know, if we get good enough to play in January, we're going to have some place to practice, because we historically we get to late December, and then beyond that, we don't get very good preparation for the game. So that'll be a big deal for us.
With the fall season back, Bobby, and now you're heading into, you know, the winter and the spring, would you guys weigh, you know, playing or playing another opponent in the spring like you guys did last year? Or is that something you guys are considering right now, looking at doing?
Well, that'd be a hypothetical question, because that's not legal. That's not what, sorry? Legal.
Sorry.
NCAA wise.
Gotcha. So, and then I guess kind of going forward, what's kind of the the timeline, the schedule for this program as you guys kind of move forward and get ready for the spring and ultimately summer and all that.
Yeah, the timeline is weightlifting, conditioning. March 2nd, spring ball. We get 15 spring practice days. We'll be done. The spring game is in Hamilton on the evening of April 8th. Right, Tapes? Friday night lights in Hamilton. Then we'll get into a speed training segment and a spring recruiting segment. And then the guys will be back the end of May for summer training, and it's on. So time goes fast. Before you know it, we'll be back out there and talking about the upcoming season.
Got time for a couple more.
Coach, with regards to some of the transfers, obviously not a coincidence that you graduated some guys at starters, and then a lot of those guys were those positions. With Hunter's brother coming in, what do you see from him? What do you like about him? And is he going to be a tackle, guard? Where do you see him fitting in on the line?
Well, I think we'll probably Dylan McGinnis, who we're talking about. I think we'll probably play him a couple spots, maybe tackle initially. We had to work really hard to get Hunter here, and he had a lot of offers, a lot of chances to go a lot of places. Decided this was the best place for him, and then Dylan, when he had decided he was going to find a new school, this is where he wanted to come. I mean, he went to a bunch of games last year, and I think he fits in well. So we'll see what kind of spring he has.
What about Sawyer at wide receiver, and what you like about him?
Sawyer's a good player, and we knew all about him in high school. I think he knew quite a lot about us, as did Dylan. Sawyer's a good athlete, can play a lot of positions. He played against us in the opener in Seattle last year, and I'm glad I think he liked what he saw on the other sideline, and I'm glad he's here.
Coach, I want to ask you about Vince Genatone. There was a guy when I went to school here with that last name. Is there a connection to Missoula? And also, though, I also know somebody that watched him at the Nebraska individual camp and said he's an absolute freak of an athlete. So what did you like about him as a prospect? But does he also have a connection to Missoula?
Yeah, Vince has some Montana roots, mostly in the Billings, the Hardin area, but he's got an aunt and uncle in Post Falls as well. So his grandfather and all that are Montana guys to a degree. But Vince he's a unique guy. He's a state champion wrestler, and he ran 10.87, I think was his best time last year in the 100 meters. You don't have a lot of state wrestling champs that run 10.8 something. His 100-meter time would have won the state meet here by almost 2/10. I think it was 1900s. So he can run fast. He's an aggressive guy. He's a good running back. We probably see him on the defensive side, but he's a versatile guy. And, I think he's favored to win the state wrestling championship again this year at 210.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, good to see everybody.